It's that time of year again, folks. Leaves are falling, the weather's getting colder. Oh, unless you live in LA or giant monsters affecting the sun's rays. And ghosts and ghouls are preparing for All Hallows Eve. As for myself, well, I've noticed for the past 2 years now I've been doing Halloween videos. But I'm not very inclined to do the same sort of video this year. So, how about 3 back-to-back Halloween-themed reviews instead? I'm probably going to regret doing this. I might not get all of them done before the month ends, but whatever. Oh, the Halloween special intro, story writer.
You hear the screeching of an owl, you hear the wind begin to howl. You know there's zombies on the prowl, and it's terror time again. They've got you running through the night. It's terror time again, and you just might die of fright. It's a terrifying time. You hear the beating of your heart, you know the screaming's gonna start. Here comes the really scary part, 'cause it's terror time again. They've got you running through the night. It's terror time again. Oh, you just might die of fright. It's a terrifying time. All the trees begin to moan, and the monsters grunt and groan, rotting faces full of slime. Don't you know it's terror time? And it's terror time again. They've got you running through the night. Yes, it's terror time again. Oh, you just might die of fright. It's a terrifying time. Hello, cyber dream. Why you chasing me? My computer screen is my enemy. So watch yourself, don't scare me, monster. Watch out in the day or night. Watch yourself, you're not scary, monster. Watch out, and I'm ready to fight. Watch yourself, you don't scare me, monster. Watch out in the day or night. Watch yourself, you don't scare me, monster. Watch out, I'll fight alright. Boom, boom, diggy, diggy, day or night. Boom, boom, diggy, diggy, day.
Yeah, this is one of the few times you'll see an actual intro on this show. I am not really the kind of guy who does intros. Anyway, I noticed that in my last few reviews were of stuff I knew I was going to be critical of, so this time I would decide to review something I know I liked. My favorite Scooby Doo movie, Scooby Doo and the Cyber Chase. Now, for your poor depraved souls who don't know what Scooby Doo is a classic show that goes back a couple generations and probably the only show made by Hanna-Barbera to properly survive after William Hanna died and the rights for the shows went to Warner Brothers. The movie is actually the last cartoon to be considered a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, and it really feels like an end to an era. The characters meet themselves with their old outfits and face some of their old monsters. Also, there's a certain couple of lines that kind of make fun of the whole way the show works and stuff. Like the one where Fred splits up the gang, as I'll point out later. Anyway, the movie begins in a lab where it appears mad science is afoot. Maybe... probably not, though. We see college professor Robert Kaufman, who seems displeased with his experience, and he decides to go check on 2 of his students in the campus computer lab while the opening credits appear. The students, Eric Stroffer and Bill McLemore, are making a computer game, but run into a few problems when suddenly the master control program tries to break out into reality. Okay, so it's actually some phantom computer virus thing. I honestly have no idea how this thing exists or what exactly it is. It's a cartoon. I don't question it. The virus then proceeds to wreak havoc on the lab's electronic equipment, and we cut to our heroes driving towards the very same college, rather conveniently. As it so happens, they also conveniently happen to know Eric. Don't you just love the constant plot conveniences for the settings where the mysteries take place? As it turns out, the game Eric and Bill were working on is actually based on some of the game's past adventures. Wow, this is really contrived, isn't it?
Like, I hope I do better on Eric's game than this one.
Don't worry, Shaggy. I suck at asteroids too. They run into Ralph the security guard once they reach the campus. Okay, his name is Twimbly, but right now I'm calling him Ralph. Ralph is suspicious of the gang, but seems like a rather obvious red herring. You know what? I'm gonna call him Red Herring Ralph from now on, actually. He directs the gang to the computer lab, and they head off and arrive at the computer lab.
Those? Huh? Because they're grown in radioactive soil.
Oh my god. There is something those two will actually not eat. That's impossible! So, the professor and his two students explain the situation in their Tron laser. Oh, like there's Mr. Obvious Red Herring again. And Eric demonstrates how the laser works, but not before explaining the technobabble, which of course Velma has to translate. Bill then boots up his own personal game, a baseball game, which he claims is virus-free and more entertaining. This is something important to the plot, by the way. What? There's no way you would need to use the Hadouken controls just to pitch a ball. Eric then explains the game's objectives, and we finally see the laser at work. Then, after a mention of a large science fair cash prize, Shaggy convinces them to show how the laser works in reverse so that they can get the Scooby snacks. More explanation as to what happened the previous night, and it's revealed the virus shares a weakness with hard drives. Magnets. You know, this doesn't really make much sense. Hard drives use magnetic storage, of course magnets are going to screw with how they work. Cartoon logic, I guess. The gang agrees to help capture the virus, and naturally Shaggy and Scooby refuse. But as always, it's easy enough to persuade them.
Would you do it for a Scooby snack?
Well, hold on, Scoob. Only one Scooby snack to go chase a phantom? I don't think so.
What if I gave you each 2 Scooby snacks?
Okay, you got a deal. This place is so big, we'll probably never see this virus anyway.
The phantom virus is composed of electromagnetic energy. Get close enough to him with one of these super magnets, and it will render him helpless.
Wait, did they seriously just explain that? Wow, kids still sure are smarter than when I was a kid. Still, the whole Tron laser thing makes the movie kind of unrealistic, but, you know, it's still a cartoon. So, the gang starts searching, have really naturally waited until nighttime to do so, because, you know, it's scarier that way. And, of course, Fred splits up the gang again. You know, Fred would make an awful Dungeons & Dragons player.
Like, do we ever do it any other way?
Ooh, wow, they're good. Very metafictional. Of course, Fred's group runs into the virus, who quickly steps on a magnet that Velma drops like a complete moron, while Daphne compounds D2C with this gem of a line.
Get back, you creepy!
creepy thingy?
Aren't the monsters usually supposed to chase them instead of the other way around? Oh well, I'm sure it'll be remedied very quickly. And in fact, we get this scene in every movie, in every Scooby Doo movie I'm in, where Shaggy and Scooby are eating. Now, I'm just gonna go ahead and skip this part. Fred and the girls try to ambush the virus, but turns out to be off the red herring again. You know, it's pretty obvious the light wasn't the virus. I mean, come on! The virus, of course, runs into Shaggy and Scooby, who do their usual costume comedy routine. And in that, chase scene ensues with a rather late theme song playing. Again, gonna skip this. It's a funny sort of deal, but you should really watch the movie yourself if you want to see this part. The chase scene ends with the gang in the computer lab, and they fall into their own trap. Wow, Fred really messed up this time. They find themselves on the digital plane on a moon level, no less. Because, you know, there was that one time where they were on the moon with their best adventure. No, seriously, what the hell? Then explained that the gang has to play through every level to escape, getting the Scooby Snacks to end every level, as I explained before. Shaggy has some fun with the moon's low gravity, but...
Scoob, like catch me if you can!
Shaggy, are you alright?
I think so. But I made an important discovery.
What's that?
In this video game, you can get hurt.
Or what? The game?
So it turns out the virus is beamed in with the gang were, but we never actually saw it getting beamed in. I don't know. Yeah, I certainly don't remember those two that are with him. Seriously, who are those guys?
Play ball.
Like,
Remember this line. It's important. The gang find a moon rover painted like the Mystery Machine and head for the level Scooby Snacks, pursued by the virus and the two moon ghosts. Scooby rushes for the Scooby Snacks and manages to defeat the moon ghost, blissfully unaware of how the level goal actually works. Poor thing. The gang is then transported to the Roman Coliseum. I think this level actually is based on somewhere they've actually been before. I'm not entirely too certain of that. And also they noticed some chalk on the ground. This is another clue.
Something suspicious.
Oh hey look, here's another bunch of villains who weren't from the gang's past adventures.
you know, for once I'm not in the mood for Scooby Snacks.
Me either.
I guess it's now confirmed that their cowardice outweighs their gluttony. The gang runs away, but Shaggy gets caught in a net of sorts, only for Scooby to find a Mystery Machine-themed chariot which he uses to help Shaggy out. Fred tries to play bullfighter with the lion using Daphne's jacket, which, by the way, happens to be purple.
This, Daphne. Oh, all right. Here.
I know this isn't red, but it'll have to do. Toro! Toro! Ooh. Leo! Leo!
Wow. Really, Fred? That's what you're going with. Okay, then.
I have an idea.
Leo! Leo!
Now!
Wow. Okay. Whatever works, I guess. Shaggy and Scooby hold off the skeletal gladiators while Fred and the girls go to get the Scooby Snacks. Shaggy and Scooby pull off one of their costume comedy skits again, distracting the skeletal gladiators while Fred grabs the snacks, and just in time too. The gang is then transported to a prehistoric... No, okay, I'm sorry. How is this game based on their past adventures? I'm sure, as you'll see later on, one level is definitely quite based on their past adventures and even has monsters from their past adventures. But give me a freaking break here. The virus comes in, rushing in on a reddish-purple T-Rex, and the gang rush towards some thick foliage so it won't follow them. Large had tiny arms, am I right? Huh? Back in reality, an important question comes up. Who was it that activated the laser? Actually, the only possible suspects are everyone in that room. There was the professor, who was trying to get the cash prize from the science fair for himself. Officer Wembley, the last one to see them before they got zapped into the game. Bill, who clearly has a grudge against the game, was his baseball game. And Eric, who as the virus came out of his game. Of course, we can already eliminate the two obvious red herrings, the officer and Bill here. The officer has no real motive and intends to keep his record of a trouble-free campus. As for Bill, there really isn't much to go with, and honestly it'd be far too obvious because he's the initial suspect in the first place. Back in cyberspace, the gang is moping about how they still haven't found the Scooby snacks and the virus is still chasing them. Shaggy and Scooby have been taken to doing cave drawings of food because, they don't have that either, only to find a hint in the form of a cave drawing. Shaggy and Scooby discover this level actually has a time limit as the volcano is starting to erupt. The gang work out that the Scooby snacks must be inside of the volcano and ride some woolly mammoths as the volcano is actually far away. Velma, of course, points out the historical inaccuracy of there being mammoths in the age of dinosaurs. Wow, this really is a smarter cartoon. They arrive at the volcano and see a trapped baby pterodactyl. The virus returns with the T-Rex and the gang start their way up the volcano. Thankfully, T-Rexes really weren't meant for mountain climbing, as is actually mentioned in the dialogue. In spite of the pterodactyl being a computer program, Scooby still decides to save it, and good thing too, because it turns out the Scooby snacks were right under it. I mean, this isn't the Transformers comic after all. And he was just in time as they are transported as the lava was about to hit them, and arrive in an underwater level, where probably the best part of this entire movie happens. A level clearing montage with the very awesome song, Hello Cyberdream. So, after all of that, they finally find themselves in the final level.
Okay, they've made it to the last level.
But this one's the toughest of them all. No player has ever won it, not even me. It'll take everything they've got just to survive.
Hey, let's see if that woman knows anything.
Excuse us, ma'am. We were wondering.
What the actual fouls? Anyway, after getting away from the virus, the gang finds themselves in a diner.
Can someone help us?
I think it's worth pointing out that Cyber Shaggy's outfit is actually from certain specific cartoons, as he's still actually wearing his original outfit. I'm not sure we're about Scooby's collar and tag, however. After some more food humor, the real gang explains to their counterparts that the virus is chasing them, and speak of the devil. Thankfully, their digital counterpart groups, the Mystery Machine, is conveniently in the back, so they make a getaway. The Cyber Gang talked about how they pretty much live in the final level, and that all of the enemies are likely guarding the Scooby snacks, and they don't want to get them because they'll go back to the first level, which is something they don't want. Real Fred gets the idea to have them all working together, and the doppelgangers agree. Even there are Shaggy and Scooby, who quite oddly don't need any convincing.
Well, I guess we were going to go after the Scooby snacks eventually.
Cyber Shaggy reveals that the Scooby snacks are with a Scooby Doo arcade game cabinet. You know, considering this movie also has a video game based on it, that's kind of way too metafictional. Yo, dog, I hear you like Scooby Doo video games.
Silence!
The two gangs find the virus at a batting cage. Again, something important to keep in mind. They run off for the arcade, but we see some villains that we actually recognize.
Jeepers! It's the Creeper! The what?
He's one of the villains from our past.
And he's got a pet.
It's Jaguaro. He's supposed to be in Brazil.
Huh? Ah! Gator Ghoul and the Tar Monster? Head for the beach!
Wrong way. Look! It's old Iron Face!
Velma realizes that all of the monsters are supposed to just be people in costumes. However, another plot hole when it comes to this game being based on their past adventures happens. Ugh. The gang split into pairs, real and doppelganger pairs, and the Shaggies pull off one last costume comedy routine, because they had to get that last one in. The Daphnes find their way into a funhouse.
You should have said something. Ah! Where did that come from? These fun houses have all sorts of trapdoors. Let's keep an eye open for more.
No, I'm pretty sure they aren't supposed to have potentially dangerous things that could end in a lawsuit. They run into the Creeper, and I'm sure he'll be suing.
Sorry, you're not our type.
The Freds make the mistake of getting onto a roller coaster, and the Gator Ghoul so happens to be on it behind them. What's worse is that the track ahead is actually broken. Wow, is that shade much? Thankfully, the Cyber Fred points out a bounty cat-like thing, like the thing you see at birthday parties. Screw physics! The Velmas run into old Iron Face, who is quickly defeated when they lose their glasses. Again. Oh, guess he's stronger than I thought. The Scoobies then disguise themselves as carousel animals. How they got the totally convincing is beyond me, as Jaguaro hunts them down. However, Cyber Scooby sneezes after holding back regular Scooby sneeze, and they all run in a few circles, only for the Scoobies to duck out while Jaguaro is still running in circles. Oh, that's classic. And with a sped up carousel, they manage to knock Jaguaro in some bottles. The Freds meet up with the Scoobies, only to discover the Gator's still on their tail, and the Shaggies rush in, chased by the tar monster, knocking down said Gator. The six make a break for another cheese sequence to the lyrical song called Double Joint happens. As much as I like this song, I'm gonna go ahead and skip this. Trust me, it's worth actually watching the movie to see it. The chase sequence ends with the Scoobies defeating Jaguaro on a log fume ride, and the gang reunites. It turns out Shaggy had his magnet, which he completely forgot about the whole time, which is probably why he didn't use it earlier. Now, how the thing didn't fry the hard drive when he brought it out is really beyond me. The gang has their doppelganger state of mind as the magnet affects them as well as the virus and enter the arcade. It looks like an easy win, but it turns out the Phantom virus was inside the arcade game. Oh my god, mental fictional headache. Ugh. The virus causes all the arcade machines to go haywire, but Shaggy pulls out the magnet. However, he is actually not close enough. Shaggy is not too keen on getting closer, so he tosses it to Freddy, who holds down the virus while Scooby goes for the Scooby snacks. However, Fred manages to trip on Scooby, and the magnet falls out of reach, allowing the virus to continue wreaking havoc. The Cyber Gang decide to help out, but they are confronted by the four classic monsters. Cyber Scooby manages to get in the arcade anyway and teams up with the real one to distract the virus, while the real one goes for the Scooby snacks again, and this time he succeeds. Then somehow deletes the Phantom virus, and they're able to stick around for a bit longer for some contrived reason. And so the two groups bid farewell. After returning to reality, the suspects are explained, and so are the clues. Remember all those things I told you to remember and were important to the plot? Yeah, that's right. It was Bill. It was kind of obvious, really. Yeah, as I said, Bill was upset that his game wasn't chosen for demonstrating the Tron laser, which is why he was jealous in the first place. The movie ends in a diner with Shaggy and Scooby starting up the game on a laptop, only to be greeted by their doppelgangers who were waving to them. There's one more thing that happens right after that, but I really think you should just watch the movie. So, overall, this movie was your usual Scooby Doo story. It was a bit of nostalgia and self-satirical jabs at the show itself. The culprit was kind of obvious, and none of the other suspects were really that suspicious. But, you know, it's a kid's show, and that's how it usually works with Scooby Doo, so I can't really complain. The music in the movie was top notch, but that really does seem to be part of the norm with these movies. I mean, I'm not going to let that affect negatively the rating, of course, heaven forbid. In spite of being rather smart for a kids' cartoon, there were still some plot holes, as I mentioned, of the game having supposed to be based on their past adventures. And that's kind of difficult for me to overlook because the game was the entire reason why they were there in the first place. Overall, I'd probably give Scooby Doo and the Cyber Chase a 4.5 out of 5. Until next time, stay spooked.